if he was in the homoerotic volleyball montage or not.
Probably. It could be Doc Batman 2020.
Doc Batman. Doc Bruce Wayne Batman Von Kumpf.
2020.
2020.
Now for our feature presentation.
All right, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of How About This Movie. We have our first ever fan request. This one for the 1993 movie Tombstone.
Shout out to Christian.
Shout out Christian. Starring Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott, and Bill Paxton. Honestly, I enjoyed this movie so much. I thought I wasn't a Western guy. Maybe I'm just not an old Western guy. Because I loved this movie. It was a lot of fun to watch.
I agree. It's one I grew up watching with my dad, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And it was always a good time. You kind of forget about some of the high points, and then you go back and watch again, and you're like, oh yeah, this is why I liked this movie.
Yeah, I remember you saying going in, this isn't a movie you watch every chance you get. Maybe this is a movie you watch every chance you get, because it's quite good.
Mm-hmm. I watch it.
It's a fun movie. Sorry, Tyson, go on.
Pretty much every time somebody says, "Oh, we're gonna watch Tombstone," I'm like, "Yeah, I'll watch it."
Yeah,
this is such a great movie.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. You know, I always thought of westerns as kind of like these cheesy, low budget, boring films, and I didn't get any of those feelings from this movie.
Yeah, it was very well made, very well acted. It wasn't like anything that you could fault with it, except maybe some of the historical inaccuracies, but fuck you, it's a movie.
Even to that point, everything that I've seen shows that it was relatively historically accurate, especially for something going back that far. There's a lot of movies made about true events now that can't be as accurate as this movie was, and it's, you know.
It was still on point with historical accuracy. Yeah.
And
as far as like records and shit go.
With all the historical records and stuff, there's a lot of speculation into those as well. There's like, oh, there's a story that this happened, there's a story this also happened, and the movie might land somewhere in the middle. There's a lot that I read that was like, well, this is kind of what we read, but this was told by somebody else that was kind of related to somebody who was there. So they never knew like exactly word for word what had happened. So it can only be so accurate if the history wasn't perfectly recorded.
So let's talk a little bit about the actors. Start there. Kurt Russell. Everyone knows Kurt Russell.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite actors.
The Escape movies, Big Trouble in Little China. Probably the first Kurt Russell movie I ever saw, Big Trouble in Little China. Loved it. Mm-hmm. More recently, things like The Hateful Eight, as well as playing the main villain in the second Guardians of the Galaxy.
Also played the stuntman in Death Proof, which was fairly recent.
Elvis in Forrest Gump.
Not fairly recent.
Not fairly recent, but a movie that he was in.
He was also in Tango and Cash.
He was in Tango and Cash. But well-versed. There's probably not very many people that aren't a fan of Kurt Russell to at least some extent.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer, I'm not as well versed in Val Kilmer. I've seen this, and I saw the Batman movie he was in when I was a child. And as far as that, I don't think there's anything else that I've seen Val Kilmer in.
Yeah, he was also in Top Gun, and he played what's his nuts in The Doors.
Jim Morrison.
Yeah, there you go. Brain fart.
Teamwork.
Yeah, he was he's in a lot of movies. He was even in MacGruber.
He was?
Yeah.
All right.
Dieter von Kumpf.
He was.
Yeah.
MacGruber, underrated movie. Anything to add about Val Kilmer?
Killed it.
Did.
Yeah, definitely the shining star of this movie, I believe.
I have a fever, and the only cure, more Doc Holliday. Sam Elliott played the eldest of the Earp clan, I don't know a whole lot about Sam Elliott other than he's got a super fucking cool voice. He was in Ghost Rider, which was terrible, basically, and he played Other Ron. That's about it.
He's in a lot of other Western movies.
The Golden Compass.
Was he a person or was he a voice?
A person. He was in Golden Compass.
That's the kids movie that wanted to be like Narnia, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it once when I was a kid.
That's one of the first times I fell in love with his voice, to be honest.
Yeah, he's got a dope, very recognizable voice. Yeah, immediately when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's Sam Elliott.
Yes. Yep. Giving the white guy voice some credit, because when you think of like the who would narrate your life, there's not a whole lot of white guys on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably him and Michael Caine.
Him, Michael Caine, and what was his nuts? Played Red Skull, Elrond.
Oh, I don't know his name, but yeah, he's got an.
He's like one of my favorites, and I can't remember his fucking name.
Just Google it real quick, unless your phone's off.
Google. I'll probably remember it immediately before I fucking find it. Lord Elrond Red Skull. I'll just fucking do that. Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving.
Yeah. Hugo Weaving is another very recognizable voice.
I'd let Steve Irwin narrate my life if he was still alive. We're getting off topic here, but those are some great white people to have narrate your life if you ever have the choice to have someone narrate your life.
There are times I would read books and have Sam Elliott's voice as some of the characters in my head.
Yeah.
I think I've told you that before.
And then Bill Paxton plays Morgan, the youngest of the Earps.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Paxton, known for movies like Aliens, Twister, probably some other movies that Tyson's going to say now.
He was in kind of a small role in the first Terminator. Can't remember much else that he was in, but
He's got one of those faces.
Brain farty today.
Talented actor nonetheless. R.I.P. to Bill Paxton. I say that with full sincerity. I'm not being a dick, I promise.
Yep.
Some other big names that are in the movie, either in minor roles or not necessarily big names at the time, but that have gone on to have pretty successful careers. Charlton Heston. Wow. Played Henry Hooker, the ranch owner. Jason Priestley played Billy Breckenridge. I didn't see him. Tyson even pointed him out to me in the movie. Still didn't see him. No idea who he is. Stephen Hadley, probably most notable for his role in Avatar as the villain.
Yeah.
Played Ike Clanton, the coward who kept running away every time he almost died. Thomas Hayden Church, Billy Clanton, Michael Rooker, obviously Mary Poppins and Merle from The Walking Dead, played McMasters. Billy Bob played Johnny Thornton, the new card dealer at the very beginning. Not the very beginning, but...
The one that picks a fight with Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets slapped around a little bit. And then obviously Billy Zane as Mr. Fabian, the actor fella.
There's also Michael Bean. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's like Bean, something like
Bane.
that. Bane.
Possibly.
Yeah. Played Johnny Ringo. He was also in Terminator as Kyle Reese. And he was in Aliens as well with Bill Paxton.
Yeah, him and Bill Paxton actually shared 5 on-screen. We're on the same film 5 times. This was actually the last one, but during the upstart of their career, they seemed to work together a lot. The movie was originally going to be directed by a guy named Kevin Jar. Sorry, butchered that. The studio decided to move on from him because of budgetary and time constraint issues that they were having with his version of the film. They brought on George
P.
Cosmatos, but it's widely believed that Kurt Russell was actually the one making the directorial decisions. It was just George that was running the day-to-day and making sure that everything went smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find anything to confirm that, but I did see a couple things that
Suggested that.
Jeff definitely suggested that.
George P. Cosmatos directed Rambo: First Blood, and he also directed Cobra.
And
So-
that's about it.
It's about it of note.
Yeah, made a couple movies. He retired in the 90s. And didn't do a whole lot, but he definitely made a couple worthwhile movies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into the movie. What do you guys think? I mean,
Story, plot.
yeah, you guys have both seen the movie before. This was a new experience for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know a whole lot about it. I was 95% sure going in that it was based on true events. So that's where I'm at. Through and through, though, I like the movie a lot. It's obviously kind of about the Earp brothers as well as Doc Holliday driving out a group of bandits called the Cowboys from a town and kind of just eradicating them, period.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously starts off with the Earp brothers trying to enjoy kind of like a retirement from being lawmen.
Yeah.
Lawmen.
Just trying to make some money in a upcoming silver mining town.
Obviously, things didn't go as planned when the spoiler alert, when the town marshal was killed. Kind of were forced into a role of marshal. Forced, blackmailed. It's kind of a mixed emotion there of them taking on that role, but it definitely wasn't something they intended on doing, but definitely something that they felt they needed to do.
And there seemed to be a lot of bad feelings from the families about going there to relax and retire and then having to do more work and a lot more gunslinging and dealing with a lot of that.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of maybe disappointment.
I think that's a
that
good
was
word
shown
for
in
it.
the movie. Saying, "Oh, we're supposed to be, making our fortune here, not doing what we left."
So they come to the town of Tombstone. Wyatt Earp immediately gets rid of Billy Bob Thornton's character. I believe the name was Johnny Thornton.
Same last name?
It's what I wrote down. I could have wrote it down wrong. But that's what I wrote down.
All right.
Either way, he was a dick.
He was.
Kurt Russell slapped him around. It's pretty funny. And as he was walking out of the casino, he just said, "What do you think, 25%?" And that's how they got started.
Yep.
They're just making 25% off of a casino. Basically extortion. It's not the kindest thing, but it's probably better than being stuck with a card dealer that prevented them from getting any business.
True.
And then the bad character, feeling vengeful, comes back with a shotgun and then gets confronted by Doc Holliday.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Billy Bob Thornton's character was like, "Wait, you're Wyatt Earp?" Has his whole realization, gives over the gun, and walks away.
He even says a thank you
Yeah.
as he drops the shotgun.
Yeah, thank a man for punking you twice.
That's the kind of badass I want to be.
Yeah,
I think he was thanking him for not
killing him. Yeah,
Basically.
that's what I would think as well. As we kind of alluded to, they take over after the town marshal's killed. Once the town marshal's killed and Virgil takes up the mantle as town marshal and deputizes Morgan. I don't know if it's deputize. Swears in Morgan as a fellow town marshal. They make it illegal to carry guns in town. And there's some other issues with the casino and Doc, and the Cowboys just kind of take personal offense, feel like they're being picked on a little bit, and decide that they want to kill the Earp clan and kill Doc Holliday.
Yep.
And it just kind of goes from there. There's the very famous shootout at the OK Corral.
Yep.
Seems like it could have been avoided if the county marshal was actually doing his job instead of being in bed with the Cowboys, which he definitely was. He was...
The sheriff.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
My
He was,
apologies.
he was the sheriff, the fire marshal, and the anti-Chinese dude.
And the landowner guy, the lot something. I don't know. A lot of fake organizations that this dude made up to line his pockets. But he's a terrible person. Said he had disarmed the gentleman, and they obviously were not disarmed, or the shootout at the OK Corral wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
He then tries to arrest the Earps, and Wyatt tells him to piss up a rope, essentially. Tells him go fornicate with himself. And he takes that personally, and it just basically spells the end of what they think will be the end of the Earps by trying to kill Virgil, trying to kill Virgil's wife, succeeding in killing Morgan.
Yep.
Wyatt then obviously leads the cavalcade out of town. When they ambush him at the train station, he was ready, takes him out.
And with the two other marshals that they met when they first got to Tombstone, who killed a couple of dudes who called them liars.
They had a very fancy names. Can't remember them.
Yeah, it was like Creek.
It's like Creek and
I don't even remember the other one.
Lumpy Log or something. They were good names.
Yeah,
Good.
they were very nice names.
Yeah, that we don't remember.
Yeah. You guys get it. But I mean, basically that's the movie. So now you guys don't have to watch it anymore. You're welcome. But still do.
Yeah, it's very much worth a watch, very much worth a second watch, very much worth multiple watches.
If you watch this movie, you won't regret it. And that's a How About This Movie podcast guarantee.
Yeah.
I wanted to add about Doc Holliday being a badass while clinging to life from this tuberculosis, but continuing to help out his friend Wyatt Earp, going on his, what was it called? Wyatt's...
Reckoning.
No, it was the Vendetta ride. Something like that.
Oh, okay.
The Vendetta ride, where they go and just take out all of these cowboys. You see the red sashes just flying, and Wyatt having to go face to face with
Johnny Ringo,
and he's like, "I'm not gonna win, am I?" And Doc Holliday's just like, "Nope." So Doc Holliday does it and wins because he's badass. Delivers his signature line.
Yeah, for the second time.
Yep.
He only says, "I'm your Huckleberry" twice in the movie. However, very memorable both times.
As I say, it's probably the most memorable line of the film.
I mean,
I
both
think
the
it's
lines
more
are
powerful
said.
that way.
Yeah, both the lines are said to Johnny Ringo, but they're such high tension scenes that they're super memorable. Like, I think that's where he shined the most, is that he just played that character so well.
Both times stepping in for his friend Wyatt Earp.
To shed some light on what, just in my opinion, what makes Doc so badass for doing all this with tuberculosis. That's what killed my biological grandfather. So this is, the 1870s, almost 1880s. Doc Holliday's just running around killing motherfuckers with tuberculosis. Cut to, I don't know when he died. He died before I was born, but cut to the 70s or the 80s. It's just killing random dudes. We got, medicine and stuff.
Yep.
And stuff. Keep that in mind, that we had and stuff.
I wrote down some historical facts about the actual Doc Holliday, right? So he contracted tuberculosis from tending to his mother who died from tuberculosis when he was 15. So he was carrying it until age 21 when he earned his degree in dentistry, and then soon after that he got diagnosed with tuberculosis. So it was from around age 21 to when he died at age 36 that he was just like, you know what? Fuck dentistry. I'm going to go down south where it's warm, kind of ease the symptoms, and live out my life gambling.
Just beat bopping along for 15 years with the big old TB.
It was reported that supposedly Doc Holliday only killed 1 or 2 men.
Killed more than that in the movie.
He's got a big reputation, but historically, it's all reputation. Still wouldn't want to go toes.
Yeah.
Not want to go toes.
I think most legendary people back in that day didn't kill very many people. They just killed 1 or 2 people very skillfully or something, and then just
nobody wanted to mess with them.
Yeah.
It's not like there could be any video evidence. You could only, I mean, you see someone big and bad kill someone that was supposed to be bigger and badder, but ended up not being bigger and badder.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, he killed this person. You're a legend.
Yep.
I mean, what do you expect? There's no tweeter back then. No hashtag OK Corral. Hashtag not so OK Corral.
This movie was made on a $25 million budget, estimated. Opening weekend, it got almost $6.5 million, which is pretty dang good. Total, made about $56.5 million, a little bit over.
Right?
$25 million.
Rough estimate, 25
Rough
million.
estimate, yeah.
Well, for a 1993 movie, I don't know how much more money could have bought them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. They got a lot out of their budget.
Yeah. Like, they got all the special effects they need. The actors were brilliant. I don't think I could have imagined anybody better.
Yeah.
So, I think they got anything they could have got for this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
They didn't need big CGI dinosaurs.
Yeah. That'll compare to other movies made in '93, which probably had bigger budgets,
Probably.
like Jurassic Park.
Oh, that had to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you guys are saying, they really wouldn't need a bigger budget unless they wanted to pay the actors more, because they just needed to get a location and some special effects. But it was mostly low end special effects. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine blanks and that kind of stuff are that expensive. A fair amount of fake blood, and you got yourself a Western. Lots of dirt. You need some dirt. I know lots of places you can get dirt for free.
Val
Yeah.
Kilmer's tuberculosis makeup was spot on. He
Twas-
looked terrible.
He looked awful.
He was fucking pale, dark eyes, and just fucking sweaty all the time.
Yep, it was spot on.
Well, they also needed whatever eye makeup Kurt Russell was wearing. He was a very pretty man. So, 93, Tombstone. Tombstone's gross box office was the 20th highest movie of 93, which is pretty good. You know, they got their money back and then some,
Yeah.
which is always nice.
More than double their
Yeah.
money.
A couple other movies. Tyson already alluded to Jurassic Park, which was the #1 grossing film that year. You have Sister Act 2. I've never seen Sister Act, from what I've heard, though. It is a funny couple movies, right? More than just two?
Yeah.
So it's a funny series of films. Demolition Man was like the quintessential 90s movie. It was just all over the top action and Sly Stallone, Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes frozen in liquid nitrogen. Wesley Snipes frozen in liquid nitrogen.
Something. I haven't seen the movie in a while.
He was frozen in something, and then Sly like kicks him real hard or something. I'm pretty confident, you guys. Cool Runnings. If you haven't seen Cool Runnings, go watch Cool Runnings.
Yeah, it's a classic family comedy.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Free Willy. I have nothing to say about Free Willy. I've never seen the movie,
I watched it a lot with my older sister growing up.
but I will
watched it
say,
too.
Free Willy, not your penis. The whales and the dolphins and stuff. They don't belong in tanks, SeaWorld.
It was a whale. It was a killer whale.
I understand that Willy was
Was
a
singular.
whale, but I want to free all the whales.
Free all
the willies.
Exactly. And then Robin Williams' Mrs. Doubtfire came out in 93 as well. Another movie that I've never seen.
Very
Iconic,
funny.
though.
Yeah, very funny, very iconic. I mean, it's Robin Williams.
Yeah.
You
Can't really be let down by Robin
yeah,
Williams.
You can't mess with Robin Williams.
So 93 was, all in all, a good year for films. It was a little bit of drama, a little bit of comedy, the quintessential 90s action movies. It was a good year for films. So for Tombstone to rank 20th, I think it should be higher personally. I do think that a lot of the movies that I saw on that list above it aren't as good. But it probably just didn't have the same draw as a lot of those other movies.
Yeah, I mean, westerns are like,
Niche.
yeah, they got
Very
a
niche.
very selective audience. You know, I don't like westerns that much. I like some modern westerns, but
I would also say that by the 90s, Westerns were basically dead.
Yeah.
Whereas when Westerns were a bigger thing, like the
50s.
John Wayne Westerns and those kinds of things, they had more draw. But there was less things to make movies on. Because all they knew was Westerns, because most people that were making Westerns were alive close enough to these times.
Yeah.
Like, in the 90s, there's less of a draw, but I thought that this was a very well-made movie all the way around. And I enjoyed watching it.
Mm-hmm. Not much else to talk about. It was a very well made movie. There's nothing bad to say about it. The soundtrack was fitting. It was pretty like stereotypical 90s soundtrack, you know. The acting was very good all around. There wasn't really a bad actor in the entire bunch.
There was a moment though when Wyatt Earp was in the street covered in Morgan's blood, and he was having an episode because it's a very hard time for him, as you can tell.
Yeah, his little brother just died.
And the brunette runs out into the street, was just like, how can I help? And he's like, go away. And she's like, dramatic, and just turns around and runs away. I looked at Daxton and I was just like,
I honestly forgot.
What was that?
Yeah, that was over dramatic.
That whole scene, just because it was like the perfect definition of overacting. That whole scene, he's walking up to his family just like, this is probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But I was laughing so hard because he didn't know what to do. Again, probably pretty accurate in all honesty. The trauma of holding your brother as he dies and being covered in his blood, it's probably pretty spot on. But like, I started laughing the moment Bill Paxton died.
His Wyatt Earp's
Morgan Earp died.
Yeah, let's
I started laughing the moment Morgan Earp died.
Yeah, let's go ahead and cut that one.
Because I did not laugh when Bill Paxton died. I'm not a monster.
My issue wasn't really with Wyatt Earp's acting, although it was over the top, but just like the brunette coming out, being dramatic and turning away, and then him turning around, and the wife just kind of staring at him, and then just kind of undramatically like turns around and walks away. Like, it was, I don't know, a little cheesy for me, but.
Yeah. The brunette was played by Dana Delaney.
The blonde was also played by a Dana. I don't know her last name, but it's one of the fun facts. I didn't write it down, but one of the things was that both the love interests were played by a Dana.
Yeah.
Not very many super notable female actresses in this movie.
No. Yeah, I thought probably the weakest performance was from Dana Delaney, but I mean, she wasn't a huge role.
Did you see Billy Zane in the movie?
Billy Zane was playing an actor in the movie.
She was playing an actress in the movie.
He didn't get very much, like pretty much the only scene he was in was when he was on stage.
But did you see that part where he was dead? I did not believe he was dead for a second. Terrible actor.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
I mean, somebody could have actually killed Billy Zane.
And then brought him back to life to make
Zoolanders 3.
We have to leave that in.
I'm done.
Oh my god.
I've got the lung disease.
Sounds like you got that TB. Get the fuck out. Did you have any more historical stuff you wanted to touch on?
I do. It's basically all about Doc Holliday, which is my focal point of this entire movie.
Your focal point?
Yes.
Watch your tongue, sir.
So I already told you that he died at age 36. At age 21, he earned his degree in dentistry. Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday actually met in 1877. So, what was that? 4 years before the shootout at OK Corral? Because the shootout happened October 26th, 1881 at approximately 3 p.m. But back in 1877, Wyatt Earp was in search of a man who had robbed a bank, and he was granted temporary U.S. Marshalness was in search for a man, and ended up asking Doc Holliday, because Doc Holliday had been gambling with that man. So Doc Holliday pointed him in the direction that man was going. And then later the next year, in 1878, cowboys, so they knew about the cowboy gang in Texas a little bit before going to Tombstone in real life. In 1878, cowboys had caused issues in a saloon in Texas. Earp entered to see what was going on, hearing the ruckus, and entered the room, finding a large number of guns on him. And Doc Holliday, who was playing cards in the back, put his pistol to the leader's forehead, making all of his members disarm. So Doc Holliday saved Wyatt Earp's life earlier in 1878, and that's how they became friends.
That person would eventually become my best friend.
And then when Wyatt Earp decided to go to Tombstone, Doc Holliday decided to stay back where he thought the gambling and money was better, but eventually came to Tombstone to help with the cowboy problem.
Yeah, because really the events of the Tombstone movie happen over about 2.5 years. Because they moved to Tombstone in 1979. But so the actual full plot of the movie takes place over about 2 years, but in the movie it's all expedited into a couple of days, couple of weeks, whatever you want to call it. There's no firm timeline in the movie, but it doesn't show any like extreme passage of time.
Yeah.
Mustaches in the 1800s were sick.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous because whenever my mustache gets too long, I start eating it.
Yeah.
So I just
You just need that
off.
wax to make it go this way and be all like luscious.
Yeah.
I had mustache wax and I don't know where the fuck it went.
All right, Tyson. How would you rate the film, and would you recommend it to a friend?
Right out of the gate, 8 out of 10. It's a very good movie, very well acted, and I would very much recommend it to a friend. Even if they don't like westerns, I don't like westerns that much. I love Tombstone. Probably because it's got a lot of really good actors in it. One of my favorite actors, Kurt Russell. It's a very good movie, very well made, very well acted, very well written. It's just a good time. So
Yep.
I'd very much recommend it to a friend.
It's a fun movie.
Final rating, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I went in fully expecting to hate this movie. I thought it was going to be boring. I mean, like I said, I had this depiction of westerns in my head, and I had no desire to watch this film. I went in fully expecting to hate this movie, but we got a fan request, so we had to do it. It was awesome. It was great. I freaking loved it. I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10, and I would absolutely recommend it to anyone. If you like westerns, you don't like westerns, you like action. If you have a good sense of humor, because it's not like laugh out loud funny, but I mean, I was giggling the whole freaking time. Like,
Yeah.
This movie will tickle whatever your fancy is, basically. How about you, Carly?
I'm actually same page, 8 out of 10.
Our first same page.
Yep, 100%. Like I said, grew up watching this movie, watched it a lot. I have many things in my life that have "I'm Your Huckleberry" on them, including my sweatshirt, my guitar case right outside, my dad's ringtone, just Doc Holliday over and over, "I'm Your Huckleberry." It's very much been a part of my life, and after watching it again, I still enjoy it. It still holds up. 8 out of 10.
Hell yeah. Fun facts. We got some facts, and they're fun.
Fun facts!
They're facts, and they're fun.
Yeah! So, when you first arrive in Tombstone, you see a grave marker for a man named Lester Moore. That is actually not completely accurate, but there is a tomb with the same saying on it. It says, "Here lies Lester Moore, 4 slugs from a 44, no less, no more." That is actually a real thing, a real tomb in Tombstone. I thought that was kind of interesting. Just a little nod to...
I wondered why they panned over the graveyard, but
That would
makes
be
sense.
why. Richard Gere and Willem Dafoe were originally pinned for Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday, respectively. Doc Holliday ended up going to Val Kilmer, mostly because of a distribution company saying they would not distribute the film if Dafoe was in the movie because of his role in The Last Temptation of Christ in 1988. I guess that was a
it was a pretty
controversial movie. All of Billy Bob's lines in the Oriental, is that what the casino is called? All of Billy Bob's lines in the Oriental were ad-libbed. They just told him, go in there and be a bully, and he made everything else up. So the thing about slapping someone into the ass of a wildcat was all him off the top of the head.
Well, there's a wildcat behind them, so...
Well, yeah, but he didn't have to say it.
Get that cigar out of my face.
Yeah, get that cigar out of his face. Mickey Rourke turned down the role for Ringo Starr, Johnny Ringo. By all historical accounts, the scene where they're in the last shootout with Curly Bill, the original leader of the Cowboys, whatever his name is.
The one that had the red shirt?
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. By all accounts, that scene is historically accurate. The second man that Wyatt Earp shot in that scene was actually not killed on scene. He was shot in the gut and got away. And he describes the incident, or the scene, as Wyatt just walking into a hail of gunfire, screaming, and shooting the leader of the Cowboys just shooting him dead, and then proceeding to basically kill everyone else that didn't run away. So, obviously that could be just a exaggeration over time. Tends to happen. But I did think that was cool that is something that is said to have happened basically exactly as they portrayed it in the film.
He also got shot in the gut. He could have been slightly delirious.
He could have been delirious.
Out of his mind.
Fuck you! That's what I was going to say. I wrote that down as the stormtrooper scene. Val Kilmer, on his deathbed at the Colorado sanatorium, was laying on a bed of ice so that he would shiver and act weird. It definitely worked. It definitely portrayed a man dying of tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be so miserable. That is commitment to your craft.
Yeah, for real. That's all I got, guys. Did anyone else see anything?
It was released on Christmas in '93.
It was released on Christmas. Merry Christmas to the world. This movie's great.
They were like, hey, we got a gift for you. It's one of the best modern westerns in history.
All right. Well, I think that just about wraps us up here. Thanks again for listening. As always, you can find us on any of the things at Jekyll Studios, JECLL. That's obviously YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you'd like to donate to our Patreon, it's on there at Jekyll Studios as well. And if anyone else out there has a movie recommendation they'd like, go ahead and send it to us on any of those platforms. We don't get any notifications, so we'll see it right away. Again, thank you for listening. Like the video, subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent. Yeah.
Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us all the things.
Yeah.
Tell us if you fucking hate us, you hate our guts and you wish we'd all die, or if you just bang us all.
Or anything in between.
Anything in between, yeah. Go to the extremes, or just, stay right here. Either way.
Yeah, we're good. We would love to hear from anyone that's listening out there. It's fun talking to an empty room, but it would be a lot more fun if anyone was listening.
Yeah.
All right.
Signing off.
What's the next movie we're going to do?
That's right. Good call. Departed. The next movie we will be doing is The Departed. Look for that next week. We are going to try and go up to 2 videos a week, so at least for the time being. keep an eye out. Thanks, guys. And as always, she's your Huckleberry.
Presentation.